Two drivers, same city, same commute distance, similar vehicles. One of them spent $612 more on fuel last year than the other one. Not because of the price of gas, not because of the car, because of 13 habits. 13 decisions made at the pump, behind the wheel, and inside the garage that one driver was getting completely wrong every single week without ever realizing it. We spent 18 months verifying every single one of them. Fuel systems engineers, Department of Energy efficiency studies, documented fuel economy tracking across two vehicles with a precision that produces uncomfortable results when you finally see the numbers. What we found obliterates everything. Gas stations, oil companies, and fuel additive manufacturers have spent decades convincing you to believe. Here are all 13. The top-off trap. This one is so common it almost feels unfair to call it a mistake. The pump clicks off, tank is full, and then you do what virtually every driver in America does. You squeeze the handle a few more times, top it off, get every last drop you paid to drive there for. Most drivers have been doing this for decades. It feels like being thorough, it feels responsible. Here's what is actually happening inside your car every single time. Modern vehicles built from the 1970s onward have an evaporative emission control system called the EVAP system. Its entire job is to capture fuel vapors from the tank and feed them back into the engine to be burned. It is a sealed, pressure-sensitive system, and it requires empty space in the fuel tank, called the expansion space, to function correctly. When you top off after the automatic shutoff, you are forcing liquid fuel into a system that is designed to hold only vapors. That liquid fuel saturates the charcoal canister inside the EVAP system. Once that canister is saturated, it stops capturing vapors. Those vapors vent directly to the atmosphere. Your check engine light eventually comes on. A mechanic diagnoses an EVAP code, and the repair for a saturated charcoal canister runs anywhere from $150 to $400. A former fuel systems engineer at a major Detroit automaker explained it plainly. Every pump nozzle in America has an automatic shutoff for a reason, and that reason is your car. When it clicks, you are done. The extra fuel you squeeze in after that click is not going into your engine, it is going into a component that now has to be replaced. Gas stations do not remind you of this. Longer pump time means more fuel sold. The fix, when the pump clicks, hang up the nozzle, every single time. The morning fill-up myth. You have heard this one from someone who sounds very confident about it. Fill up in the morning when the fuel is cold and denser. You get more energy per gallon. It is basically free money. Here's the actual physics, and why the physics does not apply to your situation. Gasoline does expand slightly with heat, which means cold fuel is technically denser. In theory, a gallon of cold gasoline contains marginally more energy than a gallon of warm gasoline. That part is true. In practice, virtually every fuel storage tank at every gas station in America is buried underground. Underground tanks maintain a remarkably stable temperature year-round, typically between 50 and 60 degrees Fahrenheit, regardless of whether it is 6 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon. The fuel coming out of that pump is not meaningfully colder at dawn than it is at noon. The Department of Energy confirmed this in a study that should have permanently ended this myth in 2008. It did not end it. Drivers still set alarms for Saturday morning fill-ups. They still feel clever about it. What actually matters about when you fill up has nothing to do with temperature. It has everything to do with your tank level. Never let the tank drop below a quarter full. Running the tank low forces your fuel pump, which sits inside the tank and uses gasoline as its own coolant, to work harder and run hotter on less cooling fluid. Fuel pumps that fail due to chronic low fuel habits cost between $400 and $900 to replace depending on your vehicle. Fill up at a quarter tank. Forget the alarm clock. There is one more note on tank level worth making for drivers who put serious highway miles on their vehicles. On a long drive in a rural area where stations are spaced 30 or 40 miles apart, waiting until the fuel warning light comes on before looking for a station is a habit that combines the fuel pump risk with the range anxiety of potentially not making it to the next exit. The quarter tank rule protects both the pump and the peace of mind. It costs nothing to build. The speed tax. Think about your last highway trip. Be honest about how fast you were driving, because above 65 miles per hour, your engine is paying a tax that almost nobody calculates and almost nobody talks about. Aerodynamic drag increases with the square of velocity. In plain language, that means going from 55 to 65 miles per hour does not just add a little drag. It increases aerodynamic resistance by roughly 33%. Going from 65 to 75 miles per hour increases it by another 32% on top of that. The Department of Energy's own data shows that for every 5 miles per hour you drive above 50, you effectively pay an additional 7 to 14 cents per gallon in fuel cost. That number compounds over a year of highway driving in a way that makes gas station loyalty programs look like a rounding error. We tracked this across 800 miles of highway driving on the same route, in the same vehicle, with the same load. The run averaging 62 miles per hour returned 31.4 miles per gallon. The run averaging 74 miles per hour returned 26.1. That is a 17% difference from speed alone. The speed limit on most American interstates is between 65 and 70 miles per hour. Driving at 65 instead of 75 on a 15,000-mile annual driving habit at current fuel prices saves most drivers between $200 and $280 per year. Nobody puts that number on a billboard because nobody profits from you slowing down. This is also worth framing for long-distance driving, which older drivers tend to do more of. Road trips, driving to see family, putting serious miles on the highway over a weekend. On a 500-mile road trip, the difference between averaging 65 miles per hour and averaging 75 is about 45 minutes of travel time. The fuel cost difference on that same trip at current prices is typically $12 to $18, depending on your vehicle. Trading $12 for 45 minutes is a transaction that only makes sense if your time is worth $16 per hour and you have nowhere comfortable to stop. For most drivers on a road trip, that trade does not hold up when you actually run the numbers. The AC versus Windows war. Every summer, this debate surfaces in every comment section and every garage conversation across America. Is it better for fuel economy to run the air conditioning or roll the windows down? Everyone has an opinion. Very few people have data. Here is the actual answer, and it has a speed threshold that changes everything. Below 45 miles per hour, rolling the windows down is almost always better for fuel economy. At city speeds, the aerodynamic penalty from open windows is minimal. Your air conditioning compressor, meanwhile, places a direct mechanical load on your engine that reduces fuel economy by 5 to 25% depending on the vehicle, the outside temperature, and how hard the system is working. In stop-and-go traffic on a hot day, that AC penalty is real and it is significant. Above 60 miles per hour, the equation flips. At highway speeds, open windows create enough aerodynamic turbulence inside the cabin and enough drag on the vehicle's body that the fuel penalty actually exceeds what running the air conditioning costs. A Society of Automotive Engineers study tested this directly and found that at highway speeds, air conditioning resulted in better fuel economy than open windows in warm conditions. The practical rule: city driving in moderate heat, roll the windows down. Highway driving above 60 miles per hour in genuine heat, use the AC and keep the windows up. The sweet spot most drivers miss is the vent setting. Outside, air circulated through the cabin, with the AC compressor off. On mild days, that setting costs almost nothing in fuel and keeps the cabin comfortable through most of a normal American spring and fall. Check your climate control panel for a setting labeled vent or outside air. Most vehicles built in the last 30 years have it. Most drivers never use it because the AC button is right next to it and old habits are hard to break. The fuel grade scam. This one funds an entire revenue stream for oil companies, and it works because the marketing around premium fuel is genuinely sophisticated. Walk into any gas station. The pump offers regular, mid-grade, and premium. Premium is the expensive one. It has a higher octane rating, typically 91 or 93. The display makes it look like an upgrade, like you are treating your engine to something better, something it deserves. Here is what octane actually measures. Octane rating measures a fuel's resistance to detonation, which engineers call knock or pre-ignition. High-performance engines with high compression ratios, turbocharged engines, and certain direct injection are specifically engineered to require high-octane fuel because their combustion dynamics demand it. If you have one of those engines, premium fuel is not optional, it is required. Your owner's manual will say required, not recommended. But here's the scam. According to the American Automobile Association's 2019 fuel study, over $16 billion worth of premium gasoline is purchased every year by vehicles whose owner's manuals only recommend regular. $16 billion. The drivers buying it believe they are protecting their engine, improving performance, or getting better economy. They are doing none of those things. A regular fuel engine-fed premium gasoline returns no measurable improvement in economy, power, or engine longevity. The engine management system is not calibrated for it. You are paying 20 to 40 cents more per gallon for a property your engine cannot use. Open your glove box after this video. Find the owner's manual. Find the fuel section. If it says recommended, run regular. If it says required, run premium. That is the entire decision. Everything else is marketing. The idle engine tax. Pull up to any school at pickup time, any drive-thru on a Friday evening, any parking lot outside a shopping center in January, and you will see the same thing. Dozens of vehicles sitting with their engines running, going nowhere, burning fuel to produce exactly 0 miles of travel. The warm-up myth is behind most of it. Generations of American drivers were told, correctly, that older carbureted engines needed time to warm up before driving. This was true for engines built before roughly 1980. Carbureted engines required a warm idle period to properly vaporize fuel. Modern fuel-injected engines, which means every engine built in the past 40+ years, do not need this. The fuel injection system calibrates instantly. The engine reaches optimal operating temperature faster under gentle driving load than it ever does sitting still at idle. Every engine manufacturer, every independent engineer, and every piece of engineering literature on this subject says the same thing. Idle warm-up on a modern vehicle wastes fuel, increases wear from unburned fuel washing cylinder walls, and accomplishes nothing useful after about 30 seconds. The Department of Energy estimates that American drivers collectively waste approximately 3 billion gallons of fuel per year through unnecessary idling. 3 billion gallons. At current prices, that is north of $10 billion evaporating into the atmosphere every year for no mechanical reason whatsoever. The rule is simple: 30 seconds maximum after a cold start, then drive gently until the temperature gauge moves. Turn the engine off whenever you are stopped for more than 60 seconds. Modern starters are engineered for frequent cycling. Restarting uses less fuel than 60 seconds of idle, every single time. The tire pressure connection. This connection is direct enough and significant enough that leaving it out of a fuel economy conversation would be doing you a disservice. Underinflated tires create increased rolling resistance. Rolling resistance is the force your engine fights against with every single rotation of every single tire. It never stops. It applies at every speed, on every road surface. It is a constant hidden tax on your fuel economy that runs every mile you drive. The Department of Transportation's data is clear. For every 1 psi drop in pressure across all 4 tires, fuel economy drops by approximately 0.2%. That sounds insignificant until you factor in that the average American vehicle is running tires that are 8 to 10 psi below optimal. That is a 1.6 to 2% fuel economy penalty that is active permanently. Every day, every trip, every mile. The fix costs $15 for a quality digital tire gauge and about 5 minutes once a month. The formula: 80% of your tire's maximum sidewall pressure, not the door sticker minimum. That single monthly habit has produced measurable fuel economy improvements on every vehicle we have tested it on. If you have not seen our full tire pressure episode, find it after this video. The numbers in it will make you genuinely annoyed about how long you went without knowing them. One additional point worth making here: most drivers check tire pressure once a year, usually when a light comes on or when a tire visibly looks soft. Tires lose approximately 1 ps1 per month naturally through normal permeation, and they lose an additional ps1 for every 10-degree drop in outside temperature. A tire that was properly inflated in September is running meaningfully low by December without a single nail in sight. Monthly checks are not overcautious. They are the correct interval for something that affects your fuel economy every mile you drive. Quick note before we continue: every habit on this list is something we have personally tested, documented, or verified against published engineering data. Nothing on this channel gets into a video until the numbers hold up. If that is the kind of information worth having before you make decisions about your vehicle, subscribe. We publish once a week. The gas station location trap. Here's a question most drivers never ask: why do I always fill up at the same station? If your answer involves the word convenient, stay with us for the next 2 minutes. Highway exit stations, stations directly adjacent to major shopping centers, and stations in tourist-heavy areas charge a premium that is completely invisible because you are already in the car and already pulling in. The American Automobile Association tracks fuel price variations within the same metropolitan area continuously. Their data consistently shows price differentials of 15 to 30 cents per gallon between stations located on major thoroughfares versus stations located 2 or 3 blocks off the main road. 15 to 30 cents per gallon sounds minor until you run the actual math. 15,000 miles per year. Average fuel economy of 28 miles per gallon. That is roughly 536 gallons of fuel annually. At 15 cents per gallon difference on every fill up, that is $80 per year. At 30 cents, it is over $220. For driving 2 blocks further from the highway exit, GasBuddy, Waze, and Google Maps all show live fuel prices at nearby stations. We use GasBuddy before every fill-up in an unfamiliar area and have never once regretted the 30 seconds it takes. A station we drove past for years because it looked older and slightly off the main road turned out to be consistently 12 to 18 cents cheaper than the polished one on the corner we had been using out of pure habit. Location convenience is a product that gas stations sell. You are paying for it whether you realize it or not. The fuel additive con. Walk through the automotive section of any big box retailer and you will find an entire shelf dedicated to bottles promising results. 10 to 20% better fuel economy. Engine cleaning so thorough the manufacturer should be embarrassed. Octane boosters. Fuel system conditioners. Injector treatments. We tested 11 different fuel additive products over 4 years of careful back-to-back comparison across 2 vehicles with documented baseline fuel economy figures. Here's what we found precisely. 2 of the 11 produced measurable, if modest, benefits. Specifically, high-quality fuel injector cleaners used on direct injection engines with documented carbon buildup showed real improvements in fuel economy of 2 to 4%, consistent with cleaning deposits that were genuinely affecting injector spray patterns. That is a real benefit for a specific diagnosable problem. The other 9 produced nothing. 0 measurable change in fuel economy, 0 change in performance. One produced a check engine light that cost $93 in diagnostic time to clear. The Federal Trade Commission has issued warnings about fuel economy additive claims repeatedly. Their position, backed by independent testing, is that the vast majority of fuel economy additive claims are not supported by evidence. A former product formulation chemist who worked for a major additive brand told us, "The primary active ingredient in most fuel economy additives is consumer optimism. The bottles are profitable because the placebo effect is strong and proving a negative is hard. If you do not notice improvement, you assume you used it wrong." Save the money. If your injectors genuinely need cleaning, a fuel system service from a qualified mechanic using proper equipment will actually accomplish it. The aggressive driving penalty. Here's a driver you might recognize. They accelerate hard from every stop. They drive right up behind the car ahead and then brake hard when traffic slows. They treat every yellow light as a personal test. They cover ground aggressively and feel like they are making good time. They are also burning 20 to 40% more fuel than a driver covering the same distance calmly. The Oak Ridge National Laboratory conducted extensive real-world testing on aggressive versus smooth driving behavior. Their findings were direct. Aggressive acceleration alone, defined as reaching highway speed in under 15 seconds from a stop, increased fuel consumption by 37% compared to gradual acceleration reaching the same speed over 25 seconds, 37% from one habit. Late, hard braking compounds. Every time you brake hard, you are destroying kinetic energy that your engine worked to create, energy you paid for in fuel, and converting it entirely into heat through your brake pads. Smooth anticipatory braking that uses engine braking and gradual deceleration preserves that kinetic energy in the vehicle's momentum. The technique that changed our documented fuel economy most dramatically was simple. Look further ahead. 2 to 3 cars ahead in traffic instead of just the car immediately in front of you. You see slowdowns earlier. You lift off the throttle earlier. You coast to a speed reduction instead of braking to 1. Combined smooth acceleration and anticipatory braking improved our documented city fuel economy by 22%. No new parts, no additives, no special fuel, just driving differently. The roof rack robbery. How many of you have a roof rack or cargo box on your vehicle right now that has not had anything strapped to it in the last 30 days? An empty roof rack is aerodynamic sabotage. It disrupts the clean airflow over your vehicle's roofline, creates turbulence, and adds measurable drag at highway speeds. A bare crossbar roof rack with no load reduces fuel economy by 2 to 8% on most vehicles depending on speed and rack design. An empty cargo box is significantly worse. A large hardshell cargo box mounted on a roof rack increases aerodynamic drag enough to reduce highway fuel economy by 6 to 17% according to Department of Energy testing. 17% for a box that is holding nothing but air and possibly one forgotten bungee cord from a camping trip 2 summers ago. At 15,000 miles per year with a mix of city and highway driving, a continuously mounted empty cargo box costs the average driver between $180 and $340 annually in wasted fuel. The fix takes 10 minutes. Remove the cargo box when you are not using it. If your rack has removable crossbars, pull those too. Your vehicle was designed aerodynamically without them. Put them back 2 hours before your next road trip. The fuel savings across a year of commuting will cover the inconvenience approximately 200 times over. A practical note on roof racks specifically for truck owners. Many full-size pickup trucks in America have bed-mounted toolboxes, bed caps, or aftermarket accessories that were installed for a job or a season and never removed. The aerodynamic profile of a full-size pickup is already less efficient than a sedan. Adding a high-profile bed cap or a tall toolbox to a truck that does not need it for current use compounds the drag penalty further. If the accessory has not been used in 90 days, the fuel math on removing it almost certainly favors removal. The loyalty program illusion. Gas station loyalty programs are masterpieces of behavioral psychology. We say that with genuine respect for the engineering involved, and genuine frustration at having fallen for it for years. Here's how they work. You sign up for a card or an app. You earn points per gallon. Points eventually convert to cents-off coupons or free items in the convenience store. The program creates a sense of accumulation, of progress, of loyalty being reciprocated. You feel good about filling up there. What you are actually doing is anchoring yourself to a specific station that may or may not be price competitive on any given day, in exchange for rewards that return approximately 1 to 3 cents per gallon in actual value. 1 to 3 cents per gallon, when that same station may be charging 12 to 20 cents per gallon above the competitor 2 miles away. We tracked this for 6 months. We logged every fill-up at a loyalty station against the GasBuddy lowest price station within 5 miles of each fill-up location. Loyalty rewards averaged 1.8 cents per gallon in real value. The price difference between the loyalty station and the cheapest nearby option averaged 16 cents per gallon. We were paying 14 cents per gallon extra for the psychological comfort of earning points. Grocery store fuel rewards programs are a different conversation and genuinely worth using. Programs that give you 10 cents per gallon off for grocery purchases you are already making represent real money with no behavioral trap attached. Use those aggressively. The gas station branded loyalty card that keeps you filling up at above market prices while earning points worth a fraction of the premium. That one deserves considerably more skepticism than most drivers give it. The engine oil viscosity secret. This is the one that careful, attentive, responsible car owners get wrong because they are trying to do the right thing, and the information on the shelf makes it easy to accidentally make the wrong choice. Engine oil viscosity, the weight of the oil, directly affects how much energy your engine expends just moving oil through itself. Thicker oil creates more internal resistance. More internal resistance means more fuel consumed to overcome it before a single combustion event moves your vehicle an inch. Modern engines are engineered to extremely precise tolerances and specified for very specific oil viscosities. A 2019 Honda Accord 4-cylinder specifies 0W20 oil. That viscosity was chosen not just for wear protection, but specifically for fuel economy optimization. The engine's internal clearances and pump design are calibrated around it. If you go to an auto parts store and grab 5W30 because it is what your previous vehicle used, or because it was on sale, or because the man at the Quick Lube talked you into it for extra protection, you have just increased your engine's internal friction load. The Environmental Protection Agency's testing shows that using a viscosity 1 grade heavier than specified reduces fuel economy by 1 to 2%, 2 grades heavier, 2 to 3%. That applies to every single mile your engine turns. Over 15,000 annual miles, the wrong viscosity oil costs between $40 and $90 in additional fuel every year. Not once, but every year you keep using it. Open your owner's manual. Find the oil specification section. It will list a specific viscosity, sometimes multiple viscosities for different temperature ranges. Use exactly what it says, not the next grade up for extra protection, not whatever was cheapest on the shelf. Exactly what the engineers who designed your engine specified. They ran those fuel economy numbers. They did that work. The full accounting. What all 13 are worth. Let us bring all 13 of these back to where this started. 2 drivers, same commute, $612 apart. After 18 months of testing, tracking, and documenting every single one of these habits, here is what a driver applying all 13, reasonably and consistently, can expect to save annually at current fuel prices on a 15,000 mile per year driving habit. Stopping top-offs and preventing one EVAP repair over 5 years works out to roughly $70 per year averaged across the ownership period. Never letting the tank drop below a quarter and protecting the fuel pump, conservatively $100 per year when amortized against avoided pump replacements. Optimal speed discipline, $200 to $280 per year. Smart AC and Windows management, $40 to $80 per year. Running the correct fuel grade, for the drivers still buying premium for a regular fuel engine. Eliminating unnecessary idling, $60 to $100 per year. Net correct tire pressure, $80 to $120 per year. Smarter station selection using GasBuddy, $100 to $220 per year. Rejecting useless fuel additives, $30 to $60 per year avoided. Smooth driving technique, $180 to $300 in city driving. Removing unused roof rack equipment, $180 to $340 per year. Ditching the wrong loyalty program, $100 to $200 per year. Correct oil viscosity, $40 to $90 per year. Total, conservatively, $880 to $2,000 per year, depending on your current habits, your vehicle, and how consistently you apply these changes. $612 was the gap we started with. It turned out to be barely the surface of what was leaking. Here's the number that makes this concrete. At the conservative end, $880 per year. A driver applying these habits over a 10-year vehicle ownership period saves $8,800 compared to a driver who changes nothing. At the middle of the range, the 10-year figure is over $12,000. That is not a hypothetical. That is the compounding effect of a dozen small habits applied consistently across every fill-up and every oil change and every highway mile, over the life of a vehicle you already own. None of these changes require buying a new vehicle. None require expensive upgrades. None require more than about 15 minutes of attention per month once the habits are built. The gas station model, and the oil company model, and the additive manufacturer model, depends entirely on you not knowing this. It depends on habit, convenience, loyalty, and the comfortable assumption that you are already doing everything right. Most drivers were not. Now you are. 13 habits, 13 decisions that compound across every fill-up, every drive, every oil change, every year you own a vehicle. The math is not complicated, the changes are not expensive, none of them require a new car, a new part, or a product sold by anyone with a financial interest in your decision. The information was available the entire time, scattered across Department of Energy studies, SAE research papers, and engineering manuals that the companies profiting from your current habits have no interest in consolidating for you. Now it is consolidated. Drop the secrets that surprised you most in the comments below. After running this research for 18 months, number 3 and number 13 were the ones that changed our own behavior most permanently. But every driver's situation is different, and the one that saves you the most depends on which habits you are currently carrying. If this video changed what you do the next time you pull up to a pump, or the next time you reach for the oil shelf, or the next time you merge onto the highway, subscribe, because the next video on this channel goes after the oil change interval myth that service centers use to double their revenue from careful owners. The drivers who follow the maintenance schedule precisely because they care about their vehicles. Watch it before your next oil change. You need to see it first.